So here is where we have fun. This is where like almost like a kid in a candy store, but it's big men.
Right.
And you're always saying like, oh man, this guy on this team and this guy on this team. And it's really exciting when you have a good imagination, a good sports IQ to say, and what's really the most exciting thing about all of this is that with all the releases, anyone can go anywhere. And so you asked me earlier, like, who do you think could go where? And I really have no clue.
Right.
Every team needs a corner, and that conflicts with the combine. So we'll talk about all of that. This will be a separate audio cut, releases and trades. So
as far as releases that we have here, the NFL salary cap will hit $167 million for 2017 season, up $12 million from last season. The 49ers released quarterback Colin Kaepernick. He actually opted out of his contract and will become a free agent. San Fran currently does not have a single quarterback on contract. They also just today released wide receiver Torrey Smith. I believe he still had 3 years left on his deal.
He did.
He had signed a 5-year deal 2 years ago, and they are cutting him out of the picture completely. And I do believe they are on tap for that money. They have to give him that money, I'm pretty sure.
Well, whatever's guaranteed. Yeah.
Right, whatever guaranteed money that they have.
Real quick, all releases don't actually become official till March 9th. So when we say released, by this time next week, they will have been released and potentially could have already been signed. Like next week is going to be nuts for us.
Right.
We are going to have, it's going to be like the holy grail of signings. And probably the week after that, we're going to see a trickle of signings.
Well, I believe as far as like contracts go, they can start talking about contracts tomorrow. I think they can, like, the players are available to talk about the contracts from the 7th to the 9th, and then on the 9th at 4 p.m. is when contracts can be signed. So these teams have the time to talk to each player. Contract details will be hammered out, and then starting at 4, you're just going to get, like, snap of a finger. There's going to be 10 signings immediately at 4 o'clock.
Someone's Galaxy Note's going to explode.
Yeah. I'm sure Adam Schefter's he's probably got 5 phones on tap for this, and 3 are going to fly through a battery in 2 minutes. The Bills released kicker Dan Carpenter, who was there for a long time. Cornerback Nickel Roby-Coleman. Safety Philip Thomas. Tight end Gerald Christian. And long snapper Garrison Sanborn. The Browns do not give wide receiver Terrell Pryor a franchise tag, making him a free agent. Probably the most sought-after wide receiver right after Jeffrey.
I would say absolutely right after Jeffrey.
I might even put him, with the year that he had with the Browns last year, I might even put him above Jeffrey. I know Jeffrey has been a standout.
Well,
but
I agree with you with on-field, but the things you can't teach is being 6'5".
Right.
Which I think Alshon Jeffrey's either 6'4", 6'5". Pryor's not small. Pryor's the better wide receiver to me, and we've only seen one real solid year out of him, so I don't know how injury-prone he is. Mm-hmm. But he caught almost 750 balls from 4 different quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken. Cody Kessler, Josh McCown, RG3, so maybe 3 different quarterbacks. We saw that with Josh Gordon. So the Browns do have a good wide receiver coach who I assume, because this happened with Josh Gordon, led the NFL with Jason Campbell.
It's one position that they have been pretty good. I think they have, I want to say Corey Coleman too They do. Browns wide receiver, and he was a stud early in the year till his injury. As far as the Chiefs go, they did not pick up the option on running back Jamal Charles. Philadelphia Eagles were one of the first teams to inquire about him. Jamal Charles, he's just a shell of himself from a few years ago, but still a big name.
I highly go against the Eagles signing him for more than $7 million a year.
Right. Well,
you can't. Him and Adrian Peterson, they're so good, right? But the last 3 seasons, Adrian Peterson has not been the most healthy man in the NFL. And then Jamal Charles clearly has not been. He's had 2 full seasons now derailed by an ACL. Mm-hmm. So, of course.
After that, the Jags, they released cornerback Devon House. The Jets released cornerback Darrelle Revis after many allegations against him. And
they said that it was only for football reasons that they were releasing him. So I'd like to see we all come on.
Yeah, you know what the real reasonings are there.
In the NFL, when you hear the two words domestic violence, you drop whatever you're holding like a hot potato.
Yeah.
You will lose so much money by keeping a player that way.
Mm-hmm. There's just no support for that really at all, which there shouldn't be. So, and they also released wide receiver Brandon Marshall.
The word you're looking for was tolerance. Of course, no one supports it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
tolerance.
there's just the tolerance to it is now just you don't tuck it under the rug.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you see it happen all the time. I think Giants kicker Josh Brown, he stuck with the team. He stuck with the team for like 3 weeks, and then it was time to cut it out. Stories were getting too mixed up. Like I said, wide receiver Brandon Marshall will be released on March 9th. He will be free to sign with any team. The Patriots linebacker Donta Howard did not receive the franchise tag, making him an unrestricted free agent. New England is looking to sign him back. I have opinions, which we will talk about in a little bit, about where he will go. Defensive end Chris Long also will not be re-signed with the Patriots. He was a major key on the team, not a role player. And tackle, Sebastian Vollmer will be released on March 9th and is considering retirement, but no official word on that. The Saints safety Jarius Byrd will become a free agent on March 9th also. And the Vikings, the big running back on the block this year, released Adrian Peterson. They declined his 2017 option. It was for $18 million. Only 10 players in history have rushed for 1,000 yards or more past the age of 32. And he has done it. He has done it only once, or only one has done it since 2010. The Vikings are looking to sign him back, but for much less money. Sources are saying that Peterson is looking at the Raiders. You hear the Giants in there, but he's looking at the Raiders because of the offensive line. Peterson will be a big name. I could see him going in the first few minutes of free agency. Also,
I think he already knows where he's going. I think it's one of those things. I think if you really feel like teams haven't talked to these guys already, I mean, I don't want to say tampering. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, but I think these guys have already been talking to who they want to be with somehow, some way, through a liaison of some sort.
I mean, even if they're not talking directly to each other, you see the world we live in now is Adrian Peterson's tweeting about the Giants.
I mean, Adrian Peterson. I was gonna.
And you see the Giants decided to release Orleans Darkwood today, making Paul Perkins really their only big option after
which would show the interest.
Releasing Jennings, and also their coach. He also said he wouldn't be against it. So maybe they're not talking together one-on-one, but with the media coverage and how Twitter is and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, how Twitter is.
You can send those messages easy. So you want to hop into some signings here then?
Yeah. So we have a couple teams that have shored up some things that they didn't want to let go. So the Bucs, they signed defensive end William Golston to a 5-year, $27.5 million contract extension. The Browns give their running back Isaiah Crowell a second-round tender worth about $2.81 million, but a long-term deal is in the works. And they also re-signed punter Britton Colquitt to a 4-year deal. The Chiefs re-signed safety Eric Berry, making him the highest-paid safety in the NFL. 6 years, $78 million, with $48 million guaranteed. The Rams give cornerback Trumaine Johnson the non-exclusive franchise tag for the second year in a row, making him the highest-paid cornerback in the league at $16.7 million. They said they didn't want to give him the long-term deal because Wade Phillips was coming in. Didn't know what direction Wade Phillips was going to want to go into. Mm-hmm. And so it's an expensive 1-year trial. You could have signed him long-term and gotten way cheaper of a deal. But if maybe Wade Phillips doesn't want to put that money, or Sean McVay doesn't want to put that money into a guy that they may or may not be sure about. Redskins, they put the exclusive franchise tag on Kirk Cousins, making his contract 1 year, $24 million. They can still trade him if they do not sign him long-term by July 15th. They're saying that with the money Kirk Cousins made last year on the franchise tag, this year on the franchise tag, and then what he'll probably sign for next season, because he won't be tagged 3 years in a row. He'll be a $30 million.
Right.
He could be making more in 3 years than anyone in NFL history, which you're almost looking at 75.
For a guy that's not even guaranteeing you a playoff spot every year.
No.
I mean, the franchise tag is interesting because it pulls the top five. It pulls the top 5 contracts from that year at that position, and you get the average in that. So the top 5 guys this year, you got to have Brady up there. I think Eli's up
Rodgers,
there.
Eli.
Rodgers, anybody that's had big contract extensions. Kirk Cousins is making the median number of those 5 guys, which comes out to $24 million this year, which is a ton of money for a guy that didn't even make the
But
playoffs
also
last year.
there's a percentage increase on a second franchise tag.
Oh, okay.
So he got like
more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, more than a regular. And because it's non-exclusive, that even jacked it up even more.
Right.
So to keep Kirk Cousins for 1 year to see if it worked out. Same thing with Tremaine Johnson. It's an expensive 1 year.
Yeah. Maybe they thought it was worthwhile with the cap rising. That could be a little.
It went up by $13 million this year, so whatever he was making almost doesn't affect the rest of your roster at that point.
If they're budgeting out properly, it probably shouldn't. So
you're a man of budgets.
I am.
Best budgeter on this side of the Mississippi, Tyler Young. Remember, alongside Tyler Young, I am Dominic Brone. This is Young and Dominant Sports Talk right here on Facebook Live, coming to you live from Broad and Girard in the third most important city in America, number 1 most important in our hearts. That's Philadelphia. We're going to stick with that one.
I like that one.
Okay, that's good. The Steelers, they re-signed outside linebacker James Harrison to round out the free agent signings who all are going to stay with their team of last year. So
if you were to re-sign, you were able to re-sign with the team up until you can re-sign after free agency starts again too, but you have exclusive rights to talk to that player before free agency
and
starts.
real quick,
So.
the Las Vegas Raiders have secured financing for their Bank of America Stadium. So we just talked earlier on in the show that the Vegas Golden Knights have officially been activated as the 31st franchise of the National Hockey League. I think I might maybe want to try and go get a media job in Vegas.
Yeah, it's gonna be growing now with the Raiders going over there.
Who's coming with me?
The Raiders are going over, and then, like we said, the NHL team. Wouldn't be shocked if the NBA moves. I know the Warriors are moving to San Fran soon, so they're out of the picture. But I'm sure there's somebody out there that
is going to want to exploit Vegas for. The only thing I can see is a basketball team going in because there's already a hockey rink. Mm-hmm. But what I'd like to see is if because Vegas will strictly be a hockey arena, I wonder what their ice conditions are going to be like. Even though they're going to have concerts at it all the time, I'd like to see, maybe not having another team in there. So yeah, not LA Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders officially getting their stadium. But let's move on to the free agent signings. So a lot's going on. It's very simple. We have a lot of releases, a lot of franchise tags not being given out like maybe we thought with some players.
Right.
And the combine, I just have to talk about the combine for a little bit. It's intense. Mm-hmm. The amount of the things that these athletes are doing on an average basis. 22 defensive backs ran faster than a 4.5 40 or 4.5 and under. Mm-hmm. We have a defensive end from Temple, Hassan Reddick. He's like probably 240, probably 6'2". He ran a 4.52.
Jeez. Now I'm 6'4" and weigh 210, and I know I'm not even doing that. So I'm not getting anywhere
I think
close.
I could run a 5 flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could run a 5 flat. I don't think that's too much of a.
Well, when you're running 100 yards, that changes a lot of things. That's
40.
A couple
It's
there.
40. But yeah,
well, yeah,
right. I know to chase a dude down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to the NFL.
Right.
No.
Well, that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah, that is why we're sitting here. We're talking about it because if you don't know me, all you have to do is listen to me for a little bit. I like to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Italian in you.
I've already done a show by myself. I literally talked to myself for 2 hours. That's hard. Let me tell you, that's not easy.
Hey, if you ever get into like minor league baseball game announcing, you're gonna have to do that. So,
hey, I'm not against it.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
talk
gonna
about
have to get used to it.
stories one time I played rugby.